Good.
We ready?
Ready?
All right, let's go. Let's go, guys. All right, what's going on? Welcome back to Warrior Talk, episode 6. We're with Jacqueline and head judge David. He's actually the central, what is it exactly? Central chairman of Florida. So you have a northern, mid, and a southern. No, Tim Gardner's south. Is it Tony that's north? Mm-hmm. So he's right in the middle there. So super excited to have you on the podcast, man.
Thank you, man.
You are one of those people that I highly respect. And when you probably remember when we were talking about the podcast, he was the first person, guys, that I want to get on this because of the information that this guy possesses that everyone wants to find out. So extremely blessed to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's amazing.
You got a show.
You being here.
You got a show coming up. I want to hit it right off the rip.
Yeah, man.
Let's
That's a good topic to start with.
Yeah.
June 29th in St. Petersburg, Florida is the first ever, the inaugural. There will only be one. NPC St. Pete Classic and IFBB Pro League St. Pete Pro.
Let's go. Love it.
Yeah. It's a national qualifier, right, for people who are trying to get qualified. It's an Olympia qualifier for men's physique, right? So we got open men's physique, and then we've got 6 masters categories for pros for bikini and for men's physique. And so we got the kitchen sink in terms of masters, 2 of the most popular divisions that we have in our sport right now in bikini and men's physique. And then on the NPC side, winner takes all. So, we're giving out free, I say free, it's coming out of my pocketbook, but if you win overall classes in the open for NPC, I'm paying for your entry for Team Universe, which is literally 7 days later. So you come off the stage, I give you a big check that says paid all over it. It's got our logo and our banner and stuff. And so, you win your class, you come off stage, you get with me, we go on the computer and pay your entry fee right there for Universe. So
right out of the gate, you decided to not just have a local new show.
No, I went for it.
Pros, Masters Pros.
I went for it. No, I went, yeah.
He's like, Tyler, I want this. Let's
Olympia
go.
qualifier.
So, how did it come about, and how long was this in the process for you?
It was spur of the moment, right? There was, there's a call that came my way, right, from the powers that be, and so I was just coming into the position as a chairperson, and so. I don't even know exactly, how the conversations went, but by the time it came across my desk, it was like, hey, you've done so much for the industry, you're judging a lot, you're going to go in this new position and kind of, take over the central part of Florida. What do you think about putting on a show? We've got a free weekend in June. What do you think? And I was like, didn't hesitate.
Done.
I was just like, yes, without knowing anything about anything, right? Other than, I have a lot of experience being at shows and being with promoters and judging and tabulating and expediting. Like I've been around long enough to know how to make it happen, but no one's ever pointed at me and said, hey,
it's time.
It's time. Yeah. You're going to make one happen. So it was exciting. I didn't hesitate. I figured I would go home that day and ask for forgiveness. And so I went home and I was like Sarah, my wife, I'm like, hey, we're putting on a show next June. And she was like, what do you mean a show? And I was like, a show. We're going to promote a show. And she's like, you don't know anything about promoting a show. And I was like,
we can find out.
Watch. Yeah. And so
honestly, I feel like more people are talking about that show more than most shows. And I've been doing this a long time too. Yeah. And it's so many people talking about, I'm sure you're already seeing the success on that, but like we have what, 8 people doing it. Now we just, if you didn't know, he's doing your show now because it's because it's 4 weeks away. So we're super excited for that. But yeah, man, it's been buzzing,
I think the unknown is cool for people, right? You just, we're familiar with Florida now, right? We know the players, we know the promoters. Every show, I've been learning this, like as a promoter, like now my eyes are wide open when I go to shows. I'm kind of like, who's the promoter? How do they do things? Like every show has like a vibe. Yeah. And it's cool because my opinion of it is that the vibe is a direct reflection of the person putting the show on. Yeah. Right? So like if you know a guy in the industry and he puts on a show and he's like a really chill guy, the show is usually pretty chill.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you have a very like detailed person who's like has, an answer for everything, very, how does it look? What's the visual? How's the flow? What, the show reflects that exactly.
Yeah. Do you know,
And so-
obviously you know Ty Pope, right? Did you judge your show last year?
Yeah.
All right, well, they had like some dancers up there. Do you remember they had like some belly dancers up there? So it was the craziest show I've actually ever been to in my life, but the success they had was huge.
It's one of my favorite shows in
huge.
Florida by far.
But there was like belly dancers, there was some crazy stuff going on. And I was like, this is weird, but whatever, that's kind of cool. Like it made sense for him, right? So I get that.
Vibe.
Like it's a whole vibe.
It's a vibe. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so, but by the same token, everyone is familiar at this point with all of those shows.
Yeah.
You know what you're going to get when you go to those shows. They're not that they're the same year over year, but like it's the same person, same vibe. You know what you're going to get. You go to a Ty Pope show, you know what you're going to get. You go to Tim Gardner Productions, you know what you're going to get. You do a class show, you know what you're going to get. So this is a total like wild card, right? What's a show that I put on going to be like? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
So like, why not? Why, and then, there's a lot of marketing out there for it. So like, it's just, I think it's just the unknown that's like got people buzzing. Cause there's so many shows in Florida too. It's like, we're super saturated.
Well, that's what Holly was saying last time is it gets so hard. 'Cause we were also like, what happens if we open up a show eventually down 10 years down the road, whatever. But she was saying how hard it is. Like they don't let just anyone, get that show. So you must have, if you got a call and you didn't even have to call them, that just shows your success right there. Like, 'cause Holly was saying how hard it was for her to get that show.
Yeah, it's tough. And there's a lot. And so, someone has to move.
Yeah.
Someone, maybe they want to promote in another state and something opens up, or they're just, over it and want to do something else. But there's not a lot of spots to pick from. It makes it hard to do the seminars either, right? Because, we prefer that we're not having seminars, at least seminars that are like sanctioned by the NPC and the IFBB on the same weekend as a show, because we want to, we want to push our local shows. We want to help our promoters in any way that we can. And so we're not trying to have anything that conflicts. And so even having a seminar is hard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's
I believe it.
That's
I believe
tough
it. To
by
get
itself.
all the judges and everyone and Tim and Tony to come down in one spot, I'm sure. Because you guys' schedule, I know, is unbelievably crazy. So,
wow.
yeah. But yeah, man, I want to get to some fun topics. This is what we came here for, So I want to start with a big one. Obviously, in this, especially when I was coming up, right? Everyone's talking about politics and like how you got to pay this judge to get a placing. And this judge is getting money off this coach because this coach's clients always place well. So talk a little bit about that. I want to hear
Yeah, you went
things.
jugular. It's like right off the bat.
Yeah. Hit me hard with it.
Politics is a fun one because it comes up. It comes up all the time. I was head judging a show in Mexico the other weekend, and someone approached me. I've never met him in my life. Very broken English, but came up to me and they were trying to say, oh, you picked and this is the NPC part. You picked so and so because I saw you over there and you're friends with. So I was like, I've never been to this country in my life. I don't speak Spanish. I'm like, it's impossible. Like, it's impossible. Like, but that's the type of stuff that you get.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff, right? Because it's hard to justify. Someone puts in a lot of work and dedication and diet, and it doesn't go their way, and so they're quick to pull the trigger and be like, oh well, I see what's going on, right? So. I'll tell you what politics is not, and then I'll tell you what I think is politics, right? So, am I going to pick somebody because I'm friends with a coach? No chance. It'll never happen.
And real quick, I want to say, guys, this guy has given me so many overalls, but he's also taken so many overalls away from me. And since I obviously do this at a high level now, and I've never been approached once, ever in my entire life, being like, hey, give me some money and I'll give you a placing or anything. I've never seen politics, at least in Florida, and honestly at any NPC level, like, or any national level, like Dustin, no one knew us. We went and got the overall, Junior USA's. No one fucking knew us. So keep going, man. I just want to put that out there.
The bodies get on stage, you chop the heads off.
Yeah.
And you're judging bodies.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. So like, I'm not, in my opinion of other people too, like other judges, are people gonna pick favorites because they have, a sponsor for their show or like money or, they're helping out with something, free diet, who knows? Followers, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Never gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I think that judges are also there's some ego going on too, just within a judge. Like, we pride ourselves in making the right call.
Yes.
And so if you're picking someone who's not as good because, whatever, that's going to eat at you, in my opinion. So like, I would never do it because I would go home that night and be like, I just messed that up. Like that's the wrong call, right? And so, I think we pride ourselves in always making the right call and being able to justify why. And if you got some, crappy justification, like I'm buddies with coach or whatever, like that's crap. So that'll never.
Well, it's
happen.
always the losers that are saying that.
Exactly.
It's always the losers. It's never the winners. Are like, oh, it's politics. He won the show. And yeah.
But I'll tell you what politics is.
This is what we want to hear.
What politics is, in my opinion, is you've given yourself an opportunity to get a look. That look can go two totally different directions, though, right? So, here you go. You got 2 athletes. I saw you at the check-in. I saw your 2 athletes. I know who they are, right? We're tight. And so I also have an expectation of you and other coaches, right? You get some high caliber coaches, and the benefit of Florida is that we have pro-ams. Most of our shows are pro-ams. And so we have the cream of the crop, both in terms of athletes and coaches. So you got coaches from all around the world that are coming to your show in Florida, and they got their people. And so anyway, you see the people at the check-in. What I am doing half the time, not knowing it, is making associations.
Yes.
I just associated 2 or 3 of these athletes with you, the coach, who I consider you a high-level coach, and you put a high-level product on a stage. Now I have an expectation that they need to be good.
Yeah.
They should be here. Just because I saw you, you should be up here.
Thank you. So listen to that, to all these competitors.
Right.
And it's so crazy. It's so crazy you say that, man, because I've done it so many times where I'm like, listen, David's sitting there. Listen, he's going to look at you. He's going to know you're with me. He knows we bring conditioned athletes. And I see David do it, though. He'll look at me and he'll look at my athletes and be like, got it. And then he'll write back. And he just knows. And I see it all the time.
I also can't control my facial expressions half the time.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm so easy to read, but and I'm analytical too. And so like, I'm always like processing. That's just my brain. But, so then when you get up there on stage, like, again, I recognize you. You come on the stage. Oh, Matt's athlete. Okay. Let's see what's going on. Right. And so it can be beneficial to you because, if you have a group of 20 people, I got a 5-person call out, 6-person call out, whatever. I'm making that association with, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to give this person a real shot to impress me, right? And so sometimes they check the box, and some people, honestly, this happens all. Some people just get missed. Like you're good enough, maybe you can fit in there, but we're moving fast. We're picking 5.
Yeah.
There's 5 that stood out, and that's it. And they're the 5, and maybe there's a 6th or 7th that deserve to be in there. To just get overlooked.
Yeah.
And so if I've made that association, it's really hard for me to not look at you.
Yeah.
Right. But by the same token, if you are not up to par, you could get beat up worse than if I had never seen you in my life. Right.
It's true, because you have a demand.
Because I have an expectation.
Yes, we have a precedent. Like, this is what it is.
I expect, a 7 or 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
You show up and you're a 4. It's like, man, that's your, this, it's a, whether I'm trying or not, sometimes it's just, I can't help
You just
what's
get
happening.
disappointed. You're like, man.
They become like a 2nd, 3rd call out person. Right. And so, the only saving grace now is I got 4 other judges on a panel.
Yeah.
And if they're screaming about that person, even though in my mind, I'm like, ooh,
Because
like,
you demand better.
I expect better. And so, granted, it's a collective thing at the table, right? Everyone's talking. And so if I got people in my ear who really still want to see that person, even though in my mind I'm like, yeah, but they really disappointed me today.
Yeah.
I'll still give them the benefit of the doubt. But it's going to take that extra something from the other judges.
Exactly. Yeah. So long story short, everyone needs to push hard. If you're on my dang team, you got to push hard, which we always do, man. But here's the thing too, is like, I always tell people, like, we can lead a horse to the water, but we can't make him drink, right? Like, that's why you'll see, like, some athletes aren't 100%, but also things happen in athletes' lives, right? People get in car accidents, people lose family members. Like, I get that. And like, but we do our best at least on this team, to try to bring 100%, I know, like, Big Serb, I don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
He brings amazing athletes. Every one of his athletes are pretty much conditioned, right? And he's one of those coaches that will not allow you to go on stage unless you're in condition, right? Me, on the other hand, I take anybody. So like, if you're an athlete that just wants to step on stage for the first time and see how it goes, I'll take you. But like, of course, we have our top dogs. We we have Jacqueline, we have him when he was coming up, Sebastian too. But like, it's funny that you say like you look and you associate names with faces and stuff. And I literally tell my athletes that when you go to check-ins, I'm like, this isn't just check-ins, guys. Like, they're looking at you. They're seeing who
It's
you're
your
with.
first audition right now. It's your first impression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially the guys that got to peel off and get weighed in and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just me. I mean, half the time there's 2, 3, 4 judges in a room and some expediters, and we're all like,
And the thing is the athletes don't really recognize that to begin with. You know what I mean? You're coming in and you're checking out the majority of the time with John. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, there's John, there's Leo. Okay, cool. What they don't realize is these are judges as well. So,
Yeah.
you know, how you professionally hold yourself is going to carry over in that impression. So I've seen some people when they go and they talk to those people, they might be a little aggressive or short with them and something like that.
Or like try to like say, oh, you didn't get my name right. You know what I'm saying?
Kinda, it's gonna affect some
Like
stuff.
this kid over here. You know what I'm saying? So he went up to Becky and he was like, first thing I was about to say,
She was like, Dustin, and it wasn't the first thing out of my mouth. She's like, Dustin the Hale, and I was like, okay, whatever. I have my name, you know, messed up the majority of my life, whatever. So I go up there, I'm like, hey, how you doing? How you doing, Miss Becky? Nice to meet you. My name's Dustin Nahali, and then, but yeah, it's Nahali, by the way, and then I don't know, maybe.
and so gave us 10th, and then when we went back there, the first thing out of our mouth, was, oh, you're the guy that made me pronounce your name. Or something like that. I'm like, okay, we got it now.
See?
So it's little stuff, and I'll say I've never said this before on camera actually too. I was with John one time, right? And with John, I didn't know John at this time. I didn't know he was down south. It was before he started really coming to these shows, right?
Yeah.
He was down south, and I think it was at the Ruby Classic, and I was there with one of my girls. Peeled, bro, ready for a low roll, ready to go, like dead. There's no way, I don't know, whatever. So anyway, so I'm there, and he's sitting there, and he's arguing with this guy because of something stupid, right? And I just butted in, really, and I was like, hey man, like, hey, by the way, I don't know who he was. I don't know if John knew anything, right? I'm like, hey man, you know, you should do open, because he was trying to convince him to do like true novice and not open because he doesn't never compete. I'm like, bro, you should do open just to see, because he didn't have a lot of money. And John was like, get out of here, like pretty much was all mad at me. I'm like, shit, whatever. And then so we actually got second at that show. When I stepped away, John looked at me, and I don't know if he did that on purpose, but Shade did get second and whatever. But it was just funny, like little stuff like that has an impression, man. What people are human, you know, so you got to be really careful what you say for the most part.
I'm seeing less girls wearing pajamas to like athletes
Yeah,
meetings.
yeah,
They put
yeah.
a little effort in.
Yeah, no, literally.
there's that, you know, there's some people who, and I don't know, you know, years and years of doing it, I guess, you see the people who, some coach told them, like, you got to get glammed up. It doesn't happen all the time. Some people look like homeless people. And then we're surprised when you show up with the makeup. You're like, oh, was that the lady in the pajamas? What? There's no way. There's no way.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. You see
That's
people
awesome.
in the elevator and you're like, wow, you are, this is,
Elevator.
this is,
Dude,
Screen
right?
close up,
That's
bad lighting.
crazy.
yeah. You ready for the show? And they're like, I'm ready to show. And then they got their face done. You're like, whoa.
Who is that? Well, it's like the Olympia back in the day. They used to wear like suits and everything just to go there. Yeah. And now like you see them, they're all wearing like jackets, Olympia jackets. But some of them look not the best. They're all covered up. What do you prefer? If you were at check-ins and people were walking in, would you like someone a little more dressed up, or it doesn't matter?
I don't really care. I think it's probably more of just the attitude.
Yeah.
Right. Just, you know,
Nice, sweet,
knowing the
fun.
room, understanding who's, you know, who's there. I mean, you said it, like there's judges there. There's expedite, like the people who are running the check-ins are also the people who are putting on the show.
Yeah.
Right. It's the promoters, it's judges, like we're all helping. Like no one's better than anybody else. Like we're all in the room helping, but we are the people that make the show run. And so, you know, we, but also totally understood. Like people are depleted and like on the verge of death. And so everyone gets a pass. Like we get it. Like you start walking to the girls' bathroom and like you're a dude and you're supposed to be in the check-in room, not the bathroom. But, you know, it is what it is. Like tanning's that way. I don't know where you're, you know. But I would just say, you know, it's more about just the attitude, being nice, you know, humble, excited that you're even there in the first place. Like that's a hell of a lot of work to do. Like you made it. You should be, by the time check-ins come,
Yes.
you've probably been eating for a couple days.
At least a little bit. Yeah, unless you're like Sebastian, we have to starve. But it's crazy. People don't understand, too. A lot of these judges are actually expediters, too. Like Leo, he does some judging, some expediting. So when you're backstage, too, don't be rude to the freaking expeditors. Because a lot of these guys, if you're doing back-to-back shows, he might be your judge next week.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with that kind of stuff. You know, we see it all the time, man. Like what happened? The one guy was yelling at, I think it was Bill. Was he yelling at? Remember? for my show. We were there.
Oh yeah,
Was
dude.
it my show? Something crazy was going on. He
Some
was
dude
yelling
got
at him.
pissed off because
It was
his
a mess.
athlete got missed, and it wasn't
Yeah.
Bill's fault. But you know, Bill's running back there
Yeah.
yelling numbers,
Yeah.
yelling numbers, and something happened, and his girl got passed over, and he was pissed.
Yes, and he went back to him. I was
It
actually
was
about
like
to
two.
step
We're
in
like,
there and say
look,
something
man,
about
you got
because it was
this
bad.
is not the time or the place,
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah. But we got a lot more questions, man. Jacqueline,
Let's go.
I know you got some. Let's get it.
Me? My goodness. Okay. Well, I always like to ask about masters bikini, of course, and some of the differences between masters and open in judging, if any.
Like, because how we're seeing it is like, I feel like masters do get a little more conditioned. They have thinner skin. So when they get out there, we feel like they judge them pretty conditioned. And, you know, we're talking open, purely pros. They judge them pretty conditioned. And then once they get to the pro, like, open class, they're softer. You know, like the top 5 is like soft. And the masters girls are seeing that. Like, she's so soft. How did she place? So give us a little breakdown of how you see that.
It's a fun question. It's a similar question to talking about like local shows, like how are local shows judged versus state shows versus national shows versus pro shows, right? So, so the golden rule is that the criteria is exactly the same, right? So bikini is bikini is bikini, right? And if you're ever like, I'm not winning, or you know, what am I supposed to look like? Go to the Olympia pictures, go on NPC News Online, go find the Olympia first call out. There's 6 girls up there. That's what you're supposed to look like at any level. And so what happens as you get to master shows or open shows, especially in the master shows, you do have thinner skin and you have more and more flaws compared to what those top 6 girls look like on an Olympia stage. And so you're still looking for the same stuff, but it's harder to come about that stuff, right? You know, for bikini, you want a toned physique, an athletic, toned looking physique. You want, you know, round glutes, soft separation, kind of everywhere, slight caps on the shoulders, right? But everything is kind of toned down and pretty and aesthetic, right? And so in the open classes, you get that with younger girls, usually. They have more youthful skin. You can accomplish that separation that we're looking for without having to go crazy on the conditioning to get to it. Sometimes in masters, you can't do it.
We got to go crazy.
You got to go crazy.
Yes.
And so you have to put in more work to try and achieve the same look, but by doing so, you're also leaner than you would be. And it's fine because in the master's class, most of them look like you look. Not you, but master's people. Like you get them all in the room together. They all collectively have kind of a leaner look. But the second you get one of them next to a 20-something girl who can do all of that stuff with a softer look, that look is more consistent with the top 6 at the Olympia. That's the gold standard look that a master's person is going to have trouble getting to.
Gotcha.
But at all levels, you can only judge who's standing on the stage. And so if you have a lot of masters people that are all, you know, maybe a little more conditioned, we're still looking for that separation that you need, right? In some of the right places, the glutes, the tie-ins, and the abs and stuff. And so, you know, sometimes the softer masters people don't have those like telltale signs that they're on for bikini. And so you can't pick the softer ones.
Yeah.
You have to pick someone that checks most of the boxes because it's all, judging's all about flaws, right? And so if you have the shape and the structure and the flow and the presentation and the suit and the hair and the makeup and everything's popping and you're a little bit too lean
Or not lean enough.
or not lean enough, either way, it's okay because you're getting all those other boxes checked. But if you have lots of flaws, right, you're going to...
Hair's messed up, makeup's messed up. This is the, you know...
Structure is bad.
Structure's bad.
You know, underdeveloped up top. Your upper body's underdeveloped. You know, your lower body's underdeveloped. You don't have enough glutes, but you, like, went ham on conditioning. So you have tie-ins, but you don't have glutes. You just have small glutes that are over-conditioned, and you can see a tie-in. But the glute size is small, or doesn't flow with the size of the legs. The legs are too big for the glutes, or the glutes are too big for the legs, or the lower body is too big for the upper body. Like there's just flaws on
so
top
at
of
that point,
flaws.
you're just picking apart the athlete pretty much. So
At all levels.
Yeah. So another question we were thinking about too was implants, like as far as women, right? Everyone thinks they need implants to get call outs. You know, they need implants. How important is that in bikini for you? Or any, not even just you, any in the IFBB?
I think what we've heard is that what makes sense is it's all about if it enhances your structure, it adds to the flow, your proportions, it matches, or it could be a total disservice. But then sometimes what we've been seeing has not been consistent with that. But then you want to be forgiving, because if someone had kind of not a proportional surgery, you can't be like, well, you're done with the sport.
Like you're too big or they're too small, or like how important is that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends on the division. First
Let's talk about bikini.
Okay. Yeah, because, my opinion is that proportions are super important in bikini. Everything has to flow together. It's like men's physique. Everything has to flow together. And so you don't have to have huge fake implants. There's plenty of people who don't have anything going on, but it's just the flow of their physique. And every physique is different, right? Like no two people are built the same way. And so you don't have to have anything done. But the way that you're put together can be very aesthetic without anything. And sometimes, without them, you're not aesthetic. And it helps the aesthetic by having them. So it's all about that individual and how that they're put together and everything. It's, it's not just the implants, it's the suit. Where does the suit sit? Does that flatter your physique? Is that, is it too big? Is it too small? You have girls who turn and they do their back pose. There's not enough fabric in the back because they went and followed their favorite pro and found out that they have a micro cut bikini that they got from so-and-so suit designer.
Let's talk about that.
And they now they have this thong thing that's showing too much. It's making their glutes look flat.
Gotcha.
It's all about what you see,
Gotcha.
right? And so, you can have implants and it can flatter your physique, and you can have no implants and it can flatter your physique.
Gotcha.
And so it just depends on that athlete, everything that they have going on from their heels to their hair.
Gotcha. Right? So as far as micro cut bikinis, I'm very happy you brought that up. So I feel like this year alone, there's so many more girls doing micro cuts, even at the pro level, everywhere. I'm seeing it everywhere now. Is that something that, at least in my opinion, every time I see it, it's getting smaller and smaller, like it has been for years. What is your stance on that? Like, you think that's a little bit, you not like micro, or you think it's just...
Well, first of all, you have, correct me if I'm wrong, do you have to email and get permission for micro? Like, you have to go with the pro and then the pro cut. And if you want to do micro, you have to get special permission?
I don't know what the answer is.
Well, because on NBC News Online, it literally says you have to get permission from, like, I don't even know who you get permission from.
I don't know who would, yeah.
If it's on NPC News Online, then that's gospel, and you should do what it says.
Okay, gotcha.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
But honestly, people who have good people putting on shows have people in the right places to have eyes on you the whole way through, right? Yeah. And so there should be somebody backstage, whether that's, sometimes you get like a suit person to help sponsor the show, you get like a CJ or somebody, and they're back there and they know what they're looking at, or you have expediters who are lining you up, who are also fairly well trained at like knowing what they're looking for. If it looks bad and it's distasteful, you're going to get thrown off the stage.
Yeah.
Straight up. Like by the time, it shouldn't get to the judge, but if it's a judge and you're turning around and you can see too much stuff, you're out of there, right?
Yeah.
So, hope, fingers crossed, you have like a backup suit, you can go get it fixed, whatever. But, I would say my default answer is it depends on how that person's built and what they look like. And so if you have super in shape glutes and that is a strong suit, and you can get away with not having a whole lot of fabric and it accentuates everything and makes it look even better, go for it.
Yeah.
But if you have, if you're just seeing who you like and you want one of their suits because you think, the smaller the suit means the better the placing, and it doesn't look good on you, wrong.
Okay.
It's going to look bad. You're going to get killed.
Yeah.
Like glutes that look bad because there's not enough fabric.
Yeah.
Some people need more fabric, and they look great and they win shows with plenty of fabric. But
I feel like a lot of girls have small glutes. They're like, okay, we could do micro and we'll pull off another 2 inches of glute and stuff. And I've seen it done. Like the girl who was at Florida Grand Prix, the one that won the overall, she had a micro and it was noticeable, right?
Yeah.
They gave her the overall, right? But she was small. She was just small.
short.
She
Right.
had to
I
do
think of it
I feel
associated
like
with height too.
it looked good on her. I mean, I
Yeah.
thought it looked pretty good, but I think like not everyone. You can't be in Walden's and get a micro. You know,
Yeah.
your glutes are already too damn big. It's,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not enough. So,
Yeah.
so it's all about proportion, pretty
Yes.
much proportion and stuff.
Yeah.
What do you got for David today, man?
All right,
have
so
some
bringing
questions.
it back to, I guess, Masters side of things. Is there a stigma that when obviously Masters goes up first and then the Open comes out? Is there a stigma that if you've seen this guy in Masters and then you see them in the Open, is there any type of difference in, I mean, like in judging? I guess.
And maybe speak to men because it might not be as obvious with their flaws in aging.
Well, the thing, pretty much the question I think we're both trying to figure out is because if you're, let's say you're 40, let's say you're 40 years old on the dot, right? And the judge knows your Masters, he knows you're 40. He's like, and then he puts you in the Open class. Like, well, I know he's 40. Do they not look at you? Like, do they judge that differently now? Because you're human, so no.
It's an association thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing we started with. So it can hurt you or it can help you, right? So you come out, 40 years old, knock it out of the park.
Yep.
You got a 25-year-old looking physique, right? You're a killer, right? You know, me, I'm usually the one cracking jokes. I'm like, the Masters dude. There goes that Masters dude again. Like, you're high on the pedestal, like in my mind, and I'll be talking about you the whole time. Like, oh, here he comes again. Oh, he's gonna smoke these Open guys now. Here he comes, right? He's back in this class, right? By the same token, if you're getting beat in the 40s,
You're right.
if you're getting beat in the 50s, and then you come back out and you get beat in the 40s, and now you're going to come up against some 20-year-olds, like there's some associations going on.
Absolutely.
Now,
Actually, that makes sense.
your saving grace is if there's different people. You know, you got beat by the 50s. You're going against Open guys. You're still judging what's in front of you at that time. Every class is its own. It's like its own unique little flower, right? Everything.
Yeah, but you know that he in the 40s he got 5th, so he's in the Open second calls, third calls.
There's never
you
been
know?
a show where Open went first.
Yeah,
Possibly.
Surprise.
Possibly.
it's all about who shows up.
It's all about who shows
because
up.
we see this all the time at the national level too. Like you'll get like these Masters girls that come in, they're unbelievable, and they smoke all the Open girls. So it's not necessarily just about age, but I think we're talking mostly about pros. You know, pros specifically, because again, like I've in my mind, I've always thought if they know your Masters, they're gonna look you weird. But like you said, it could be a plus if you're smoking everyone.
If you're smoking people, you're smoking people.
Yeah.
And we're like, ooh, this guy's, he's
Like
coming
Ali.
into Open.
Yeah, the Masters guy Ali, was he 51 or something? He won the Masters Olympia, but he's
talking
qualified
about
for
Ari
Olympia.
Shafir-
Ari, he qualified for the Olympia multiple times. You know,
What's his name?
The guy who won the
Ari,
Masters
you know,
Olympia.
Ari.
What's his name? Aria.
He's a beast.
Aria.
I love his
Aria,
physique.
yeah.
Yes, I love
Well,
his physique.
I had judged him in Atlantic Coast like
Okay.
2 or 3 years ago, and he didn't do Masters. He did Open. He won the whole thing. I was like, not even close.
Wow. He's a crazy good.
Yeah.
So, but you don't think it'd go against you. So you do recommend people just doing both? Just if you're
Yeah.
35 and over, do it. 45 and over, do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's not, it's not, like I said, it's an association. It's not an absolute. It's just you almost have to prove me wrong.
Gotcha.
Right? If I, you come out in the 40s and you're like second or third, and now those same guys are in the Open, and you're in the Open. Now there's some Open guys too. Like, you just got to come. You got to come back
Yeah, 'cause
strong.
there's no way that they could place you ahead. If they're giving you third there's no way you're getting ahead of those two at least. You know what I'm saying?
Most of the time, you'd be surprised what people do though in between the classes, right?
Yeah.
You get
people just stayed.
stupid coach backstage, like, oh man, you
Five
were
muffins.
flat, 5 muffins, and then they come back.
There's
That happens too.
Dude, I know.
And you got to judge it and justify why the placings changed, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll come back and be like, I just beat this guy in the one class. We went back in the Open and he beat me. How come? I don't know what happened to you, man. You were gone for 3 classes. You came back and you're sweating all of a sudden, and you can't hold your poses. Like, what? Your stomach's distended because someone told you needed to fill out more. Like, what did you eat back there? Oh, a couple donuts or
A couple of donuts. Had a slice of pizza back there, actually.
What
I won
happened
my
to you?
class. I thought I was going to win again.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah,
so
that's funny, man.
that happened. It's not. I'll say it's not an absolute. It's not guaranteed that just because you beat somebody, you come back, pose different, you're standing on a different side of the stage, the angles are different, you get more confident, right? Someone's shaking in their boots the first time, they're doing true novice or something, they're freaking out, they can't hold their poses, they're terrible.
Yeah.
They come backstage, take a breath, and they're like, okay, that wasn't so bad. I thought that was going to be, nerve-wracking. It was, I got it. They come back, killer, next pose, next class.
Yeah.
And then you're like, that's the same guy. He's like,
what the hell happened there?
He's got some confidence now. I'm like, I'm going to place him higher.
Yeah.
You got to judge them how they are at that time with that group during that time frame. You can't take what happened 25 minutes ago and be like, we have to do that.
Yeah.
Keep it as a rule. Oh, well, he beat him in that other class. Keep that in mind. Got it. But you're judging it live.
Gotcha.
Definitely.
So
I just asked because I'm considering potentially doing a master's class.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Do it.
I kind of said that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, dude, let's just go smoke all these 35-year-olds. Like, let's just smoke them all. We'll get in the open. I think he's gonna have a great show this time. The first show, little bit, second bit. We're just keep learning. Right? Everybody's a little bit different. So we actually have a meeting right after this to talk about game plan going to the next show, which is your show. So and after that, we'll see what happens. We're gonna bring a great package to that show.
Always.
But another thing I want to talk about too is like site injection, like enhancements. Like if you're a judge and you see like a little puffy shoulder, or like your glutes are swollen, or like, do you mark down for that? Because obviously we all know people take stuff, right? But when you're there judging, is it a bad look?
It's you still have to default back to what the criteria is, and so some. Injection spots like that, they make you look inconsistent from like a flow perspective. Yep. So I wouldn't say people are getting marked down because they have site injections. I think people are getting marked down because they are doing things to themselves that throw off the aesthetic of their physique.
Like synthol and stuff like that, yeah.
If you got real pointy shoulders, right, that's an eyesore. Like you shouldn't be, it's like cartoony looking, to some degree. And so again, it's not like, oh, site injection, marked. It's like your shoulders are not consistent with the size of your chest, or your shoulders are too big for your arms, or that's what people are getting marked down. It doesn't matter how you do it.
Yeah, because obviously like Hadi Chupin, he's been getting roasted on social media about that because I don't think he's using synthol at all on his shoulders. I think a lot of specialists have said that, right?
Yeah.
I think he's just probably injecting that spot and it creates scar tissue and it crystallizes and he has a big lump there. And like even like I guess whatever Steve or Weinberger went up to him and was like, hey man, you gotta fix that. I guess that's what I heard supposedly, right?
Yeah.
So like, and he made second. Or won the freaking Olympia with that. So I don't think it's like that bad, but I tell all my clients not to inject in their shoulders. That's just me. Like to me, it's such a one of those muscle groups that can throw off your whole physique. Like you keep saying your shoulders. Yeah. And I have this one client right now because his name, he has a huge lump in his shoulder. I'm like, dude, you got to stop. Like you got to stop injecting your shoulders, at least not as frequently, or like mix it up. But people just because it's easy, right? Like nobody wants to go to the rear, but yeah, man. I just wanted to ask that because that was something I've been asked actually on my social media. So. About you.
Yeah. It's,
stuff.
It's a flow thing. It's not a.
So another big topic. Well, I think it's a big topic. It's about classic physique. So why are the amateurs 10 pounds lighter than the pros? Make it make sense to me. I'm giving you this platform as a judge. Make it make sense. Because to me, it makes no sense.
The weight cap.
The weight cap. Yep. Yeah. Like why do you, let's say you have to be 198 and then you turn pro, now you could be 210.
I think it's, it's just my opinion. This is not an official answer by any means. I think it's just a matter of establishing a starting point, right? Like the guys, the top guys that are out there, like if you were to put further restrictions on them to make them consistent with NPC guys, you wouldn't have any more classic physique pros. So they had to draw a line somewhere and say, you guys who are out there who are pros already, this is what your weight should be, right? Whereas NPC, these guys are all up and coming, right? And so I think over time, you'll probably start to like normalize what those weights are.
Right.
But today, these are just up and coming, it is what it is.
Do you agree with it?
I'm all for consistency. Right. But I think you have to start somewhere to start making change, and it can't be too drastic. So, You have to draw a line. You have to start collecting data before you can just go crazy. But I think the office is just responding to what they hear and what people want and trying to address it. You just can't boil the ocean, right? So like men's physique pros, right? Oh, men's physique pros are bigger than bodybuilders. They're bigger than classic physique guys. Like, all right, well, we're going to establish heights and weights, right? It was not like immediate, right? They spent like a whole year, and it was weird even to me. I was at a couple of shows, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, they want to height and weight these guys. And I was like, they're men's physique. Why would we, little did I know they were collecting data.
Yeah.
And once they had enough data, they pulled the trigger the next year and said, all right, we're going to do heights and weights. And so I think it's because Classic has been around for a while, they're going to need more time to get that data. But what they can't do is just pull the ripcord and make all the Classic guys come down on the weights.
Well, the thing is, I'm not trying to say come down. I'm trying to say why aren't, like, I want the amateur competitors to be able to get the same weight as these pros, because some people, even like bodybuilders, right? They try to bodybuild their whole life. They don't even want to step on stage. Yeah. And they try to fight their weight down to this class physique cut, lose fucking 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Like we had to do with him and Sebastian. We have my friend Sebastian who has to, it's a brutal to get him to that weight. Like, and then you turn pro, now you can gain 10 pounds. So it's like, so you have to take, you're forced to take almost a whole year or two off just to gain that muscle. So I feel like it would just be so much better if it was just the same height as the pros, as the amateurs. Like, there's no other division that does that. That's the only division that, like, men's physique pros have the same weight cap. Well, technically, when it goes to amateur, we'll have the same weight cap, hopefully, as the amateurs. So it just makes sense. So consistency across the board. So
I think it'll get there. I think it'll get there. I think it just.
But you haven't heard anything.
It takes time. No, I haven't. I think I think it's just collecting the data every year, right around the Olympia. Who. I'm not saying they'll do it next year, but they every year they're taking in input, they're figuring it all out, and then hopefully by the end of the year they're able to make some informed decisions on changes based on what they hear and what people want. So I couldn't tell you. It's something on the docket. Who knows? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not for a couple years. But
I know people are starving right now to get that 10 pounds. Yeah. Like I know they just upped the weight caps for everyone, amateurs and pros. And Sebastian's like, bro, I get 4 more pounds. Like, Jesus, he's so happy about it, right? Because he's a shorter guy, but it was brutal getting.
Because in 2023 they changed it for NPC.
Yep, they added like 5 times. They added higher amounts for the lower weight caps, and then if your height is 6'4", you only get like 2 pounds. So Chris Bumpson didn't get a lot, but he was already a freaking monster. Yeah. So you got any other question for David, man?
No, not right now.
Not right now.
Yeah.
What about you?
So you're a pro yourself.
Right?
Well, which people don't know.
Once a pro, always a pro, I guess. No, it was a long time ago.
What made you decide to switch to the judges table?
I was done. No. So I don't want to date myself, but when I was coming up, we were judged on like hair and abs and like swag and like not so much like muscle mass. It was a look. It was just like no different than Bikini back then. It was a little more, these are all bodybuilding shows, right? And so I prefer it now because it's, a measure of building your physique and doing something, right? Whereas before it was almost like if you're born with it, you're going to be good at this. Like if you're born with a set of abs and you can like do your thing on a stage, like you'll get rewarded for it. And so when I came up, that's what I was dealing with. And so, I was getting feedback like your shorts are too bright. And I'll be like,
okay,
all right, well, I'll figure out that. But so I actually, I probably spent 6, 7, 8 years kind of coming up with the division. I did men's physique, by the way. So, I came up.
What year did you start?
I turned pro in 2012.
Okay, cool. So almost like one of the first years.
One of the first years. Wow. I was year 2, I think.
Dang.
I was like the first full year of national shows.
Gotcha. What show was it that you turned pro at?
Universe.
Wow, okay.
So
was it top 2 back then, or was it just like win your class?
Top 2.
Top 2?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So it's kind of the same height as now?
Yeah. It was, and they were, they needed pros. They didn't have any. So they had like, 8 or 9 guys total. When I was coming up, there was only 8 or 9 pros in the world at that time. And so I feel like I was probably number 17 or 18 or something. So it was the beginning, but I started to come up with those guys and they got a little bit bigger and more muscular and more developed. And so I was chasing it. And so I was getting a little bigger. I was actually, ahead of my time because I got murdered a couple times placing wise because I was like peeled and nobody looked like me.
Yeah.
But I
Like
just
they wanted that soft look like they do in bikini. Like, oh, we want it soft and just a shape.
they're like, yeah, you look like a bodybuilder, and I was like, I like this. So
Yeah.
but eventually, like, because I mean, my conditioning was going like wild, right? And so eventually, what the judges started to look for started to line up with it a little bit. And so there was like a sweet spot in like 2014, 2015, where like I was like, I made it. And so I was like top five for a run there. And then, but then, they kept getting bigger to a point where I was like,
You got to tone down.
I can't keep up with whatever, And, I had spent I was so obsessed with just the sport and dieting and my gym life or whatever. Like everything took a backseat to that. And so I kind of just had to readjust my priorities. And it's kind of like, well, this was fun, but I got better things to do with my life. So I stopped competing, but couldn't get away from just the people.
Yeah. So how did you transition into becoming a judge and now a show promoter? Like a lot of people choose that coaching route. Why did you choose that route and not coaching? How did you make that decision?
I coached for a little bit. Like he kept bringing up Leo. Like I used to coach Leo.
Oh, did you?
That was my guy. I turned him pro.
Wow, nice.
I had like I didn't have like a big team. I had like 2 or 3 people because I had like a full-time job. I was just kind of side hustle coaching people. So, I was kind of doing that, and then I was helping a lot with the shows. Just I would do like the stats for the shows, and just sitting at the table for a long time because like a lot of people got they would do like the expediting or like wherever they could help, and so I would sit there with my computer doing the stats, but I would also watch the shows. Next thing you know, it's like 3 or 4 years down the road, and I've watched every class at every show for 5 years, and so that data is in my head to where like I didn't realize, I guess at the time, what was happening, but like I was pretty dangerous myself at like picking who should be placed where. And it was, one of those things where like the light bulb went off and I was like, I don't want to be at the end of the table at the computer. Like these judges get like
good treatment.
They get good treatment. They got, snacks at the table. That's like my favorite part. They get snacks at the table and all the athletes want to get feedback from. I was like, that's cool. I'm like, let's get into that. So I just went up the ladder like any, if you guys don't know and, you want to be a judge, you go to your district chairperson and say you want to test judge, and they send it up to the home office. They get you plugged in and you got to take 3 tests. And if you're consistent with how people, how the general judges place people, if your little test sheet has the same type of results, you do it 3 times, you pass 3 tests, you're a local judge.
Wow. That was actually one of the questions I got sent to me is like, how do you become a local judge? They would reach out to you then.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, David, I want to be a judge.
Yeah.
So your DMs might get flooded, but
hey,
yeah, whatever. And then at that point, then they have to take 3 tests or whatever, go through this little process. And then I know every promoter, you choose the judges, or how does that work?
It depends. It depends on where you live, right? I think every state is probably a little bit different. I think we've been having a lot of success in that our promoters have been requesting, right? And so it's not always an absolute. Just because they ask for somebody means they're going to get somebody. It's, the chairperson ultimately decides who the panels are. Gotcha. For NPC shows. The pro panels are sent down by Pittsburgh, so that's like it is what it is.
Gotcha.
And like I said, a lot of the shows in Florida are pro-ams. Yeah. So what you get is the decision of the bosses, and they send it down, and it is what it is.
So you can't choose. So your show, for example, is it Jack?
Yeah,
Jack's head judge. So did
Jack's
you choose him, or did you like?
So no, we send some ideas. Who knows if they, if they're heard. So most of the times, yeah. So I had people I was interested in, and so I got what I got. I'm excited. I love those guys. Every single one of them. That's like even because Jack's from up north. We got Tim. We got Natty Shack. We got Deke. These are like staples.
Oh, nice.
These are
absolutely,
staples
for sure.
We got Deb Callahan, who's like a legend right out of Lakeland, and so we got the whole crew. We're excited to have them. So.
Because I think a lot of people choose shows based on judges as well. Like, that's the reason why we picked Ultimate Grand Prix last year for us when we were looking at the schedule, because it actually popped up, and Steve Weinberger was the head judge of that show. And I'm like, man, if I can win against Steve, like, you got a good shot to turn pro because this is a better judge. You know, we judge national shows. So we chose that show. I got rocked, but it is what it is. You know, actually, you judged
I was on
show.
that panel.
He was on that freaking panel. I got destroyed. My back ain't nothing, guys. But it's just cool, man. We picked that because I was like, if I could get out there and we have Steve Weinberger there and he's saying that this is the best judge in the world, right? Yeah. If he could tell me no, then I'm good. I could live with that. And that's why I retired, pretty much. Because with that conditioning, if I got third, I'm like, shit, that's, you know, nothing we can do at the ends there. But, you know, I understand why. You know, and it's got to be hard being a judge. But that's kind of cool to see, like, the judging process and how that is. So how do you – I know I've asked this Holly last week. We want to kind of hear your stuff. How do I own a show? Like, if I was one owner show, how did you – I know you got the call. But if you didn't get a call, who do you talk to do that?
Yeah, you know, I think you probably start with your chair people again, right? So, you know, ultimately, I think the my opinion is that the office is more of like a pass-through. Like, you know, if your state chair people are suggesting that someone should have like a sanction, like, you know, Pittsburgh is usually cool with it. But, you know, it usually starts with your chair people, and we just have to assess how many shows are out there. And, you know, if your show comes in, does that mean someone else's show comes out? Like, that's, you know, we're not in the business of removing them.
Right.
So, you know, my opinion is that Florida is tough, but there's a lot of states out there that don't have a lot of shows like we do. Texas is huge and Florida is huge, but there's other states, like, it's not normal to have shows every single weekend like we do. And so, you know, there's a list, I think it's on NPC News Online, like a list of all the chair people in the states. And so if you're interested and, you know, there's, you know, maybe your parents are from some town that's in that state or something, you can reach out to that chairperson and be like, hey, you know, I've been thinking about a show, blah, blah, blah. I would say for anybody, it's going to be tough in Florida. I mean, you know, Holly told you.
Holly did say it was hard for her to get, but is there like a list of people that have been trying to have their own shows? Like a list somewhere that you guys have to, like a wait list type of
I don't
thing?
even know why, you know.
You haven't heard anything?
I haven't heard anything about that.
So it's almost, I'm sure a lot of people want shows, you know. I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's probably a lot of money, but it's also like it's really cool for like just in general just to have your own show someday.
So what are the main responsibilities of the chairperson?
You know, the chairperson is really the voice of the home office at a local level, right? And so, you know, I could tell you I wouldn't want to be in that spot, but like you can't come to Tyler with everything.
Yeah.
Right? If there's a problem, you can't come to the office with all the problems. Like there's too much going on. Like NPC is worldwide now, right? And so, you know, if you need justification on rules or like how do I prep for a show or, you know, what do I need to bring to the check-ins and you know, no one in my community can tell me, right? You're going to go to the chairperson, right? You know, there's rules about like, you know, for example, there's certain types of awards that we can't have anymore, right? You guys don't see the samurai swords.
We talked about
right?
Holly. Yeah, someone dropped on their foot and like
because
crazy
right,
stuff.
and so, you know, there's people like us, the chair people that you can bounce things off of. Like, hey, I'm going to do shields, right? There's no sharp edges, blah blah blah. It's a chairperson question. You know, I'm having trouble getting my NPC card, blah blah blah. I'm at a show. It's the weekend. I'm at the check-in. It's not my credit card. It's not going through, blah, blah, blah. How can I get in the show today? What do I got to do? That's a chairperson question.
Gotcha.
You know
so your phone is ringing then?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Like on the weekends, like, cause
Sometimes.
you're saying that you're the one that everyone calls. So if
Sometimes.
Tim's at a show and he's there and check-ins are going on, he needs to figure it out, he calls you. You're like the main guy to call then.
Well, it depends on where the show is.
Yeah.
So
because we got the Southern, right? You got Tim. But I'm saying Tim judges shows, right? He comes.
Yeah.
Let's say he's judging Mel Chansey, right? And you're not judging that day, and you're you're the chairman, And he has a problem, and he can't figure it out. He calls you. You're his number 1 guy.
100%.
Gotcha. Because you're in the Central. Now, let's say he was up north at the Panhandle. Would he be calling Tony, or would he be calling you?
Tony.
He'd be calling Tony. Okay, so whatever district you're in, that's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're still obviously allowed to judge shows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in Florida, and they're not taking that away from you. They're just giving you an extra little title.
Correct.
Right. So where do you want to go from here?
Olympia would be good.
Yeah. Like Olympia judge?
Olympia would be
Hell
good.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
How do you get in there?
Just keep doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
Nice.
You know, I think for me, it's, you know, it's a combination of, you know, time in and word of mouth. And so, the more people who are exposed to me that I judge with that have good things to say, I think ultimately it'll get in front of the right people who can make decisions. And so I'm not pushing for anything. I've got a small family at home. I got little kids, and so there are things that I can't do that I would love to, like, travel the world and judge internationally. Right? Every once in a while, I'll get like a Mexico, right? Like I just did.
You're just in Mexico.
I was just in Mexico, but that that's less normal.
Yeah.
There's more people that have less responsibilities that can do some of those things. But I'm everywhere in Florida, and so if I can do more of that and just keep grinding. I know there's the Tampa Pro panel is a big one. So Steve's head judge in that, and so I'm on that panel. So
hell yeah,
just getting the reps in front of the right people,
Yep.
I think is the golden ticket, as well as just kind of making a name for yourself.
It's just like anything else, I'm sure. Like you were his second hand at Ultimate Grand Prix last year, right? I think it was you, and I think Tim was next to him, if I'm not mistaken, you and Tim. So I'm sure it's just building your name, and the more he sees you, the more he's going to want you there.
That's all,
And I'm sure, does Steve probably get to pick who he wants to be the head judges at that shows? At Olympia?
That may be at Pittsburgh. That may just be straight from the home office.
Yeah.
They just pick. Yeah.
Like obviously Steve's the man, he's there, he's the one calling, but I don't know who would pick that. But no, it's super cool to see like how all this is done, and we have maybe how much got, like 5 more minutes, maybe ask him a couple little questions.
Yeah, we got about 5, 10 minutes. Yeah.
Cool, man. So I'm gonna go through a couple questions that people actually were asking me. Do you get paid per year? Do you get paid per show or salary for a judge?
Per show.
So it's per show.
show,
So
yeah.
now you're getting, okay, that makes sense. So per show.
Yeah.
We're just going to quickly bang this out. I don't know what this is, but why was the moon pose banned from the competitions?
What's the moon pose?
Yeah, what is
I don't know. Do you know what that is?
The moon pose where you reach down and grab. It's just distasteful. It's just no.
I don't know what
Who
it
wants to
is.
see
Reach
that?
down and grab what?
Grab your ankles.
What?
What?
I don't know.
For
People do
men?
it.
For
But it said it was banned.
Yeah.
Is it banned?
It's like
Nobody wants to see it.
yeah.
Well, is it like, okay, so, but what is it though?
But honestly, I know what it is. I don't know why people did it back then, but you show off like the hamstrings.
Yeah,
and you get
tie-ins and stuff.
the
It
tie.
makes
Like, look
sense.
at the hamstrings.
Yeah.
I'm gonna reach all the way down, but you're like mooning people.
It's just weird.
It's embarrassing.
Right?
It's not flattering for anyone.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, my next question. How often do judges get together to discuss judging criteria and changes in the divisions?
So nationally, right? There's a meeting once a year in Pittsburgh, and so all of the chairmen from all of the states go, and we meet with Tyler and Jim and talk about changes, right? Any of those like national things, like hey, no more swords anywhere. Those are things that come, hey, we're changing the weights on classic physique. Those are the types of things.
So once a year in Pittsburgh.
Once a year in Pittsburgh.
And I think Mel Chancey was there because I think last time he was there, right?
He was.
Yeah, because when I was in Pittsburgh, was it around North American time? Is that when it was?
Actually, I say Pittsburgh. Let me take that back. It depends on where Nationals is.
Got you. Okay.
So we had
it
it
was
in
Texas
Texas.
last
We
year.
had it
So
in
it was
Texas.
Texas last
We
year.
had it in
Because I remember because I was talking
Yeah.
to Mel because he was there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, how can somebody? Oh, we already got to that one. Have you ever been threatened by someone who didn't place well?
100%. 100%.
What happened?
It was the
Especially
funniest threat.
especially in other countries.
No way.
Yeah.
Like they'll come up
Yeah.
and be like, "Man, you didn't place my guy with," and they start. They
Well, yeah.
threaten you.
Well, they're like, you don't know what you're looking. It's always like you don't know what you're looking at, and blah blah blah. My guy, or girl, whatever. It's usually my guy was the most conditioned. You're like, all right, cool. Do you know what the criteria is for your division? Like,
But no,
yeah, conditioning him. Like,
okay, this is him. This
Yeah.
is the condition
This is-
right here. This is Chris Bumstead
Yeah.
in classic.
but it's always the people that are the most misinformed about criteria.
Yeah.
Right.
Always. It's like, hey, like I said, this guy's the most conditioned. And it's like, cool. Do you know what the criteria is? Whatever it is, bodybuilding. Do you understand like size and symmetry, proportions and balance? Like your guy had not one of those. He was just this shredded little guy with, looked like a swimmer. Like, no, he didn't win.
No, you don't
He
want
wasn't even close on all levels other than conditioning. Yeah, but he's the most shredded one. Well, it's not called the conditioning show. If we can have that on another weekend, but this is bodybuilding and there's a lot more that goes into it.
That's
So-
awesome. But no one's ever physically assaulted you after a show.
No, but it's all. I mean, they're on YouTube somewhere. Some of them. But
That's
There
awesome.
was a recent one.
Which
No,
one?
that was something else. Oh, that was a coach thing, not a judge thing.
Oh, okay. I know the one guy got beat up back at what was that? Last week, guy got beat up by like the
Oh,
whatever.
yeah,
That was crazy. I'm sure you heard all about that. But
Yeah, that was on
yeah, that was nuts. Okay, another thing. What's the best time to get judge feedback?
after the show, after the finals.
Yeah, after the finals.
After the finals. I'm still getting emails from we had the clash like 2 weeks ago. And so I'm getting emails from there. So think about getting emails from a show that was 2 weeks ago, along with the emails that I probably still have in my inbox from 3 weeks ago and 4 weeks ago and 6 weeks ago and 11 weeks ago. Right? And I just got a new email from a show 2 weeks ago. Like, what's my memory going to be like of that person? So the best we could do is say, hey, go on NPC News Online, go find a front picture and a back picture, send me the pictures, right? But I'm only judging you based on 2 photographs. That could be you in the pose, you could be halfway in the pose, you're like transitioning or something. Like whatever you give me is what I'm going to pick you apart at. And so, you know, maybe your stomach's hanging out and I'm like, hey, your stomach's distended in these pictures. You need to fix blah, blah, blah. And they come back like, well, my stomach wasn't distended at all. I'm like, well, what you sent me is, so you're going to get probably like a 60 or 70% good response from me. If you come to me after the finals, I know like photographic memory, like in 8K, 8,000K. I know exactly, you know, if there's a hair out of place, I'm going to tell you because I know exactly you just came off stage. I know in your front pose, you did this wrong. You turned to the side and this happened with your arm and then your one leg did that and you turned to the back and then you did this and that. It's like, that's the depth of the response that you're going to get where it's like, holy crap, like he just totally picked me apart. It's like, there's levels of feedback that you're going to get that can benefit you by coming right after.
Yep.
Gotcha.
You're never going to get it from an email in the same way.
And honestly, guys, it's different up north too, man. Like I was telling you before, I was telling you this a few months ago. We went up north with Emily, went up there. I'm used to getting judge feedback right after the show. So I think maybe this is something you could talk to the whole organization about because it's annoying and it was very frustrating. And I actually they were really rude to me, to be honest with you. They didn't know who the hell I was. And I walked in like, hey man, like, this is a good time to get judge? Oh, we don't do judge feedback right now. You have to email me. Rude as fuck. And I will never go back up north because of that. And you dumb people, like it doesn't make any sense. Like obviously I have a pretty big team. And if I were to now have everyone fly here, like how do you not get judge feedback? I was very confused.
Was that Ohio?
That was Connecticut. No, I don't even know the show. I wish I remembered.
think in
it was
Illinois
that
and
irrelevant to me.
Wisconsin, they preferred email.
Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah.
So it's weird. So maybe that's something you can bring up to them to make it like flat across the board because I was very confused and they were like looked at me like I was retarded when I was up there.
Yeah, you know, I think we're really going in the right direction in terms of streamlining things. And so, you know, everything from like the check-in process to how things go on stage to how people are judged is getting more consistent.
Yeah.
Right? I think that is something that's under kind of Tyler's leadership that's really been a positive change. But there's room to go still before everything gets like that. That's the direction we're going.
Right.
We may not be there yet. That's probably a good example. That's something to bring up, but we're not quite there. But that is the direction. So like, you know, everything, like I said, even the judging, you know, you go to a show in North Florida, you go, you know, South Florida, the way that you enter the space, the way that we do the scores, it should be very similar, whether it's in Connecticut or in Florida or whatever. There's probably some things that are a little different, but for the most part, if we're not there yet, it's where we'll be soon, I think.
Gotcha. Well, I'm really happy to hear that because that was uncomfortable for me. But and a lot of people just don't know. You know, a lot of people just leave, especially first time competitors.
Yeah.
Well, then when I first came to Florida, it was uncomfortable for me because I didn't think that I liked it. All I'm thinking is, my gosh, what a long day. And they've been here all night. I'm going to keep them here until 10 o'clock. Asking.
Well, I mean, look at Sandy, dude. I don't know. I have
Sandy's
so
a monster,
much respect for Sandy as a judge. Wow. She'll sit there and I'm not even talking about like, you can always tell when a judge is a little bit annoyed. They've been sitting there all day, right? It's good. Like, get out of there. Whenever we do. Sandy sits there. Oh my God, Matt. How are you, man? How's everything going? You know, she'll talk to me and then she'll get the judge feedback. There's like 1,000 people lined up, and she's sitting there with every single one of them, same energy and everything. So I respect that a lot, you know, and I've respected you a lot. You know, you've especially like from the very beginning, the first time I ever met you, you gave Tyler second. It was one of my first shows for when I first coming up. You gave her second, and it's funny you say the conditioning thing because I was kind of mad at you at that moment because I seen the show and I'm like, I'm not understanding what the hell is going on because like you turn to the back and like we slaughtered this girl from the back. I'm like, we have tie-ins. Like, and when I told her that, and I'm like, we have tie-ins. Like, well, just because you have tie-ins doesn't mean you fit the whole thing. And I didn't understand it at that point, but then looking back, I get it now.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just funny, and I'm glad you took the time to talk to me and to talk to Tyler, and I think we even talked to us backstage. But okay, so if you were trapped on an island and had to pick one bodybuilder to survive with, who would you pick in the world?
One bodybuilder to survive with.
Yes. Someone has to. So who are you picking? Speechless. He's thinking.
Man, I don't.
You're dead if you don't pick the right one. You know.
Yeah. I mean, like I'm trapped on an island forever.
Yes.
Just favorite.
No, you're trapped. You're trapped. This is what was asked. So you're trapped on an island, and you have to survive with one person. Who are you picking? Who do you think has the best chance to survive with you?
Like survivor skills?
Yes. Like who are you picking? You can't pick Nick Walker. You know, and maybe you could pick Nick Walker. I don't know.
The smallest one requires the least food.
I don't know.
Man, is my wife watching this?
Is she a bodybuilder? No. You got to pick a man. You got to pick a man.
I got to pick a man bodybuilder.
Yes. Or you could. Well, yeah, you got to pick a man. Let's say it's a man. I don't know exactly, but I'm guessing a man with that question.
Man, and this is my survival, right? So
yes.
I'm being analytical because I'm analytical. So at some point I may have to fight for my life, right?
Right.
And so
That's true. I never thought about that.
they should either be slower than me, or not flexible. So I can survive. I can if I have to kill him, I kill him. So.
He's going down
I'm
the
going,
right.
right?
I mean, hey, you gotta be
What?
as
So
analytical
you're
as
teaming
possible.
up against the animals.
I was thinking like together, like we're gonna do this as a family. He's like, I'm gonna have to eat this.
But you never
motherfucker.
know what happens on the island.
I don't know,
True.
right?
That's
I just
true.
say survivor stuff. Like,
All right, so then just think of one name. First name that's coming to head.
is this current or this is like any
Let's make
bodybuilder
it fun.
ever?
It's current. Yeah, they're competing recently. They've been competing. They're active competitor.
God, I don't know. Maybe Hottie.
You're gonna go against
Maybe
Hottie?
Hottie. Huh?
What if you had to
Not
pick
against.
that man?
No. Now I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Like we're
Okay.
we're a team.
You're a team, yeah.
Yeah. He just he's like he loves like his country, his people, and so like if we're trapped on an island, like I'm the only person he's got. So like
That's true. We're a team.
we're like
Yeah, absolutely.
we're a group now. So
So how did you when
I
you
go-
come to the island with David?
yeah.
That's
Hottie.
awesome.
I hope the person that asked that question is very happy.
No, I know, right? I tried to get to all of them. There was a few more, but I figured that was a fun one. But honestly, man, thank you so much for coming to the podcast,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Like, it's an absolute honor to have you on. You know, we'll definitely have you on again. You know, this was just a breakdown of a few questions that we've been really, really interested to find out. And there's just so much more that we could ask, but we could be here all day probably asking David questions. But
absolutely.
thank you so much, man. I know you
Of
got 2
course.
kids. Happy birthday.
Yes, sir.
too.
Thank you, man.
It was a few days ago, right? Was it
Appreciate
Saturday?
Friday.
Friday. Happy birthday, man.
Thank you.
Get home back safe with the little babies and stuff because I got 2 of them. He has 2 of them.
Oh, yeah.
So she has
Yes.
1. So we're all
Yeah.
family members
We
here.
all
but-
have little kids at
Wow.
home.
yeah, but thank you so much, man.
Yeah, man.
In episode 6,
Episode 6
Going
down.
down,
Don't
baby.
forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification.
Let's go.
Find out when we're launching more of these babies, and we'll see you on the next one. Let's go.
Later, guys. Hell yeah, man. That was awesome. Thank you so much.